Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and good afternoon, everybody. My pranams to Revered Swami Brahmananda ji and other monks and acharyas of the tradition here. My pranams to Revered Swami Sarvapriyananda ji Maharaj. And welcome back to this short retreat on a few selected verses from the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Yesterday we saw how Sri Krishna handed us the master key to Vedanta, the diamond within us. We were introduced to the diamond. What is that diamond? That I am awareness itself, I am consciousness itself. In Sri Krishna's language, he said, Idam shariram kaunteya kshetra mityabhidhiyate etadyo vetti tam prahu kshetrajna tadvidaha. O Arjuna, this body, consider it, label it, give it a name, field. And the one who experiences this body, the one who knows this body, one who feels this from inside, call that one the knower of the field. Now the body is the field and you are the knower of the field. Immediately he sets up a distinction between you and the body. And we are using this clue which he gave us. The clue is, what you know, you are not that. What you experience, the object of consciousness is not consciousness. Consciousness is always different from its objects, distinct from its objects. Drashta is different from drishya. In Sanskrit, drashta, seer. Drishya, the seen. By seen, of course, I mean not only what you see, but what we hear and what we smell and taste and touch, what we can think about, what we can speak about, whatever we understand, whatever we remember. Every object is the field. And the amazing thing, what happens is when you do that, we draw our attention, Krishna draws our attention to the body, and we realize that the body is the field. Till now I thought it was I, me, myself. I am this. And when you ask, who are you or what are you, point yourself out. We always say this. So I, what am I? This. And what is this? I. So this mutual identification. I am the body and the body is I. This is what Sri Krishna, with very precise, analytically, it separates. Not as a claim. We are invited to look into it as our experience. Am I experiencing this box as different from me? Yes. By the same logic, I should also say that the body is different from me. From me, the conscious being. If I am the body, then that body is not different from me. I am the body. But if I am consciousness, if I am awareness, then the body is different from me. And we saw yesterday, not only the body, the vital forces, the prana, also object. The thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, ideas, also object. This is a great thing, to be able to see the contents of the mind as objects. So you have a freedom from the mind itself. Freedom from the tyranny of the body, freedom from the tyranny of the mind, freedom from the tyranny of the physical, freedom from the tyranny of the mental. Don't be anxious that, the body, what will happen to the body if I'm not the body? Body will still be there. The mind will still be there. Everything will be as it is, but you'll be free of it. That saying is there, which I like very much, that the person will never be free, but you'll be free of the person. And the person will still continue. The personality will still continue. But you are not literally the personality. It's like a cloak or a dress or a mask which we have put on. In fact, the word person, I was amazed to discover, it means mask. It comes from the Greek persona. So when the ancient Greeks would stage in their amphitheater, they would stage plays. And they would hold these big masks representing the characters in the play. And the masks had holes in them in which you could shout out your dialogue. Remember, no microphones in those days. So you had to shout out your dialogues. So that persona through which the sound comes, persona, the mask. And that's what we call our personality. It's a mask. It is not you. You are not the person is not you. It's a mask that we have put on. Then what am I apart from the body? What am I apart from the mind? What am I apart from the person? Till now I thought I was this person. Well, now Vedanta is showing us, Krishna is showing us the real nature of the field knower. Our real nature is consciousness, awareness. And as we feel it, as we experience it right now, all a matter of experience, nothing speculative, nothing, we are not being asked to believe in something extraordinary. It's a fact right now. That's just a new way of looking at what's going on. So I am consciousness. I am the field. Earlier I thought the field knower was body, mind, personality. Now I know the field knower is really consciousness with a layer of mind and body and personality, but it's consciousness alone. And what good did it do us? Why did we say it's a diamond? Why did we say it's so valuable? It can transform our lives. You remember the parable of the washerman who sold the diamond and all his poverty was removed. How does it remove our poverty, our smallness? Because this consciousness itself is free of the problems of the physical and the mental. Because it's not physical, nor is it mental. The body gets old, it gets disease, it gets sick, it can get pain and suffering, and it will die one day. Consciousness neither gets old, nor gets pain or sickness, nor does it die. Nor was it born, in fact. Mind. See, all of these things I'm saying, these can be argued out at great length. Well, that's homework. You can think about it. The mind, even more so. The mind can be excited, it can be bored, it can be depressed, it can be thrilled. But consciousness, which reveals these experiences in the mind, by itself is free of these experiences, by itself is free of the mind. Therefore, when we stand as consciousness, we are free of the travails of the body-mind. Already. It's already there, actually. Just Vedanta is just the diamond merchant showing you the value of the diamond which you already have. Vedanta is just showing us what we already have. One monk, I didn't see this directly, I heard it online. I also watch YouTube videos of Vedanta talks. One senior Swamiji is there, Maharaj, Paramanandaji, I think. They call him Yug Purush, Vedanta teacher, very nice old Swamiji. In Hindi, he's giving a talk in Hindi, somewhere in North India. He was saying that change where you stand, where you are standing, I'm translating from the Hindi, where you are standing, look what's happening to you. Where you are standing, you're getting older, you're getting sicker, you're going straight towards death. And I'm showing you a place, if you stand there, you will never get old. You'll never get sick. You'll never die. Basically, standing means what am I identified with. If I sit in the body, if I stand in the body, this is who I am, then the body will pull me along to its own destiny. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But if I stand as awareness, the claim is that you will not be dragged by the body into its grave. You will not be dragged by the mind every morning. See, the mind is so changeful. It's so untrustworthy. In one day, today, since the morning till now, how many times sleepy, how many times awake, how many times curious, how many times bored, how many times happy, how many times irritable, how many times exasperated, how many times calm and cool, in one day, from morning till now. And this is the merry-go-round the mind leads us around day after day, month after month, year after year, decade after decade. Would you not want to be free of it? It'll still be there. It'll still serve our purpose. But I am the witness of the mind. I am the witness of the body. I am consciousness. I am not flesh, bones, blood, organs. I am not even thoughts, ideas, memories, desires, tendencies. All those are there. But I am the light which illumines all of them. Appreciate my own glory, which is there already for us. This is the point and purpose of all the spiritual practices that we undertake, to come to an appreciation of what already exists. The Greek fable Ulysses, but retold by the poet. Ulysses, very great English poet. Joyce, I think. Maybe it's from Joyce. At the end, Ulysses is saying, so once more we sail forth, my brothers, not to see new sights, but to see old things with new eyes. Vedanta is that art of seeing the old things with new eyes. It's not promising you new visions. You can have them, or you may not. But what's already there, we now look at it for the first time as if a veil has lifted from our eyes. So this is what we have got. I am consciousness. I am not the body, not the mind. Now we understand when that famous hymn of Shankaracharya, 6 verses on Nirvana, Nirvana Shatakam. Shankaracharya sings, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not the memory, I am not even the ego. What am I? I am consciousness, bliss, I am Shiva, I am Shiva. Mano buddha hankara chittani naham. I am not the mind, mana. Buddhi, I am not the intellect. Chitta, memory, I am not the memory. Ego, what an amazing thing to say. I am not I. It sounds literally contradictory. But even the ego is a function of the mind. And I'm free of the ego. Then only I begin to appreciate Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Then what am I? If I'm not the body-mind, what am I? Then I am consciousness. The one which experiences the body-mind. One which dwells within the body-mind. One which enlightens the body-mind. That shining, everything else shines. By its light, everything here is lit up. I shining, everything else shines. By my light, everything here is lit up. I realize I am that. In meditation, in yoga, we do the Chin Mudra. It's exactly what it means. In Vedanta, what Chin Mudra means is these 3 bodies. The physical body, that's this one, the smallest one. Then there is the subtle body, the mind, intellect, memory, what's inside, the first person, the personality actually, here. And there's something called the causal body. And usually I am associated with these 3. This is what I am, usually. I am the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. This is my usual condition. What Vedanta is telling me is, I am not these 3. I am not the physical body, the subtle body, the causal body. I am pure consciousness. I learn to stand apart, even while being in this body. Even while walking, talking, eating, working, playing, doing yoga, meditating, waking, dreaming, sleeping, I stand apart from these. This is the meaning of the Chin Mudra, the essential, the key to Vedanta. So this is where we are, what we did yesterday. But it still leaves many questions unanswered. It still leaves us with a trace of this feeling that I am consciousness in this body-mind, and here are so many bodies and presumably so many minds, so there is a separate consciousness in each of them. This is a field, so those are also fields. And as in this field, there is a knower of the field, Kshetrajna. In those fields also there are separate knowers of the field. I am consciousness, but so are they. So are they separate consciousnesses? I think it's Heisenberg who said, consciousness is that singular which has no plural. So are there many consciousnesses? How many are there? Bodies, clearly there are many. Minds also there are many. But consciousness itself? So that question, it has to be answered. Why? See, this division we did between consciousness and everything else, knower of the field and the field, this leaves us in a profoundly delicate, unsatisfactory position. We have separated ourselves effectively from everything and everybody. So earlier, I am this person and everybody else is apart from me. Now, even this body and mind are also apart from me. I'm the witness of everything. I'm apart from everybody. What's wrong with that? Well, it contradicts what we are claiming. For example, we are claiming consciousness is limitless. I throw these words around. Consciousness is infinite, limitless. But a philosopher will catch, stop up, wait a minute. What do you mean limitless? Limitless means there is nothing that constitutes a limit. If consciousness is limitless, there must be nothing that's outside consciousness, that's beyond consciousness, that stops consciousness. Now, if I say that I am consciousness, I am not the mind, not the body, then the body and the mind are the limit to me. Where does consciousness stop? Where the body begins. Do you see this point? That limit, if something is limitless, if you say the limitless ocean, well, the ocean is limited. When it comes to the Bahamas, it stops at the beach. So the Bahamas islands constitutes a limit to the ocean. Similarly, if I'm consciousness, ocean-like consciousness, but then if I'm saying that I'm different from the body is like the Bahamas islands, where the consciousness comes, the ocean of consciousness comes and stops. There is something beyond consciousness then. Then how is consciousness unlimited? You see, consciousness non-dual. Advaita means non-dual. But this is gross dualism. We have separated ourselves from field and field knower. Field and field knower. Even this chin mudra. This is consciousness. But what about these then? They are apart. They are separate. So it is not non-duality. It is certainly not oneness. It is certainly not limitless. This is the situation we are in right now. Now Krishna comes and solves Krishna to the rescue. In the next verse, he gives us, it's a dramatic verse, one of the most important verses in the Bhagavad Gita. He gives us the solution. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam yattad jnanam matam mama. He says, O Bharata, O Arjuna, in all these fields, remember he is in the battlefield. It's very interesting that he uses the field and field knower while they're standing in the battlefield. In all these fields, that means all these soldiers and generals and indeed all living beings, the horses and the elephants, in all these fields, there is only one knower of the field, not many. There's only one consciousness shining through all of these fields. And that consciousness, I am. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi. There's a subtlety involved there. He says, generally, when we look at the world, what does religion say about this? How do we experience the world? Field and field knower. Subject and object. And we experience the world as subject and object. I am there, stuff is there, and people are there. So this is the world, this is object, I am the subject. Or in Krishna's terms, Kshetrajna, Kshetra. Field knower and field. This is how we experience it. All of us, whether you're religious, non-religious, which religion you belong to, whether you don't believe in any religion, whatever, even non-human beings, they experience it as subject and object. And what religion adds to it is that beyond the subject and the object, beyond the sentient beings and the world, there is a God, in Vedantic terms, Ishvara, Saguna Brahman, who controls all of this, who is the creator, preserver, destroyer of all of this. And Krishna says here, Krishna is an incarnation of God, so he says, I, God, am also the knower of the field in all the fields. So in each field there is a knower, but they are all one. And that one knower of the field in all beings is also the God of this universe. It's basically a roundabout way of saying, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. If Krishna is the knower of the field in this field and that field and every field, then I am the knower of the field in this field. But then I and Krishna must be one. I must be one with Krishna. Krishna cannot be different from me. I cannot be different from Krishna. This is what he's saying there. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. What he has said there is that consciousness is not many. He is controverting the Sankhyan position. The Sankhyan position is there are many bodies and in each body and mind there is one separate consciousness. These are called Purusha. So Prakriti designs the body-mind and in each body-mind there is one consciousness. But here Krishna is saying all those, they seem to be different consciousness, but they are all one. And I am that one consciousness. When we realize who we truly are, when we realize our identity with God, we can also say, I am that one consciousness shining not just through this body-mind, but through other bodies and minds. There was a question yesterday, and it's a typical question which will come up immediately. It should be dealt with later on, but I'll deal with it now. Otherwise, those who have that question will stumble over the rest of the teaching. So that needs to be cleared out right now. What was the question? Was that if I am the consciousness not only in this body-mind, but I am the same consciousness in all bodies and minds, I should be able to experience the world. I should be able to experience through all bodies and minds. Right now, I'm able to experience the contents of this mind. I'm able to see through these eyes, hear through these ears. But if I am the consciousness in all bodies and minds, I should be able to see through everybody's eyes and hear through everybody's ears and know the contents of everybody's mind. But I can't do that. So how am I the consciousness in all bodies and minds? And interestingly, this is exactly the question which I was asking revered Swamiji at lunchtime yesterday. So the answer is this. There is a distinction between consciousness and knower, between Sakshi and Pramata. In Sanskrit, Sakshi, witness consciousness. Pramata, the knower. Let me distinguish between these two. What we did yesterday, the finding out the diamond, I am the consciousness, I am not body, not mind. That is the Sakshi. That's the witness consciousness. Consciousness alone, bare awareness. That's our real nature. Now, how does it function in this body and mind? It shines on the mind, and the mind now feels conscious. This is technically called reflected consciousness. Right now, if we all look into our minds, into ourselves, you will feel conscious. You will not only feel your own thoughts and you see our own thoughts and memories, ideas, but also we sense that we are conscious. This consciousness which we are sensing right now, this consciousness, there's no word for it, sensing, feeling, sensing, that we know we are conscious. This is the reflected consciousness. It is there as long as the mind is active. When the mind falls asleep at night, the reflected consciousness goes away temporarily. The moment the mind becomes active again, this reflected consciousness comes back. So, this mind with the reflected consciousness, lit up by the reflected consciousness, deploys the sense organs. The mind with consciousness, reflected consciousness, uses the eyes and gets the experience, I see. And uses the ears and it gets the experience, I hear, I smell, I touch, I taste. And in the mind itself, I think, I remember, I feel, I enjoy, I suffer, I desire, I know. All of this activity which is going on is called pramata, the knower, which uses the mind, reflected consciousness, mind, and the sense organs to experience the world, and acts through the body. When it acts through the body, it becomes the doer, the agent of action. In Sanskrit, karta. When it experiences through the senses, it becomes the bhokta, the experiencer, enjoyer or sufferer. When it uses the instruments of knowledge to know, it becomes pramata, the knower. But one thing characterizes all of these. They are all activities. They are all changes. It depends on some kind of effort and activity. The moment an activity or effort is involved, it is individual to that mind body. So, when I say, I am consciousness, that's correct. That's what Vedanta is trying to tell us. But I know only through this body and mind. Then the I has shifted. You're using I in two different senses. I as bare awareness. I as the knower will immediately become this knower. And by definition, different from every other knower. I am the doer. I'm speaking. Nobody else is speaking. If I'm consciousness, all should speak. No. I'm speaking is an activity. That activity involves the body-mind of this mechanism. And therefore, it's individual to this body-mind. But what is common to all of these pramatas, these knowers, these agents of action, karta, bhokta, the experiencer, enjoyer or sufferer, what is common to all of them? All of them are lit up by consciousness. That consciousness is one. Krishna will say, he says here, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. In all these body minds, I am one consciousness. Technically speaking, those who are studying Vedanta, the lakshyartha of Kshetrajna, the implied meaning of the field knower is pure consciousness, and that is one. But the vachyartha of Kshetrajna, the direct meaning, the dictionary meaning of the word field knower is the individual jiva, each one. Those are different. There are many different. There are many billions of us. So this is the basic answer to that question. If I am consciousness, why am I not experiencing knowing through all bodies and minds? One answer is, yes, you are. But when you are knowing through bodies and minds, you appear as different knowers and distinct from each other. And behind all of them is the same consciousness. One sun shining through all these bodies and minds. Later on, Krishna will say, Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. I am undivided in all beings. I, consciousness. And equally, we can all say that. I, consciousness, am undivided in all beings. I appear as if divided. Is it not the same in our dreams? In our dreams, when we project, I've fallen asleep and the world appears in my dreams. And I am there in that dream also, as a person in the dream. And there are other people in the dream, and other objects in the dream. There are places. There's the ocean and the ships, and all of that is there in the dream. When I wake up, I realize I, the dreamer, appeared as everything in the dream. And yet, even though I appeared as everything in the dream I seem to be one person. I seem to have one particular perspective only. I was not having a God's eye view through every being and every creature there. No. So that's how experience takes place. As a pramata, as a knower, we will be one. Still, one may ask, isn't it at all possible to, be plugged into all computers? To have the master key to know what is on the hard drive of all computers? To have the whole internet at your disposal, internet of minds, to be connected to every living being, experiencing every living being. All in totality, if you want to know, it is possible, but that is called Ishvara, Bhagavan, Saguna Brahman, through Maya, or more precisely the Hiranyagarbha, cosmic mind, which actually identifies with all our minds and knows the contents of all our minds and experiences through all eyes and ears and all. But as individual jivas, even if I become a jivan mukta, my perspective will be that through this body and mind. But I will be that one consciousness shining in all bodies and minds. Pushing it even further, is it not at all possible for me as this individual being also to experience through others? Sometimes yogis can do it. There are yogis who have the capacity that in a limited scope, for a short period of time, they can experience through other people and all that. They can feel very deeply the feelings of others, the sorrows of others. Yogis can experience this. Through the sheer purity of their minds, they can identify with others. But not with the whole cosmos. That requires Hiranyagarbha. All right, so that's the answer to that question. Now going ahead. So what are we basically discussing here for the next deep philosophy, metaphysical heavy lifting is necessary. What are we discussing? Basically, we are discussing the relationship between consciousness and objects. I am awareness, and this mind, body, senses, world appears to be. Now the question that, it's true that I am distinct from all of them, but now the question arises, what is the relationship between consciousness and objects? What is the relationship between consciousness and objects? This is the question we will dwell on for the next 20 minutes. Yeah. It's very deep philosophy. This is where non-duality will emerge. Yeah. Till now, you can see the problem. Duality, limited. Limitless nature of consciousness. That will emerge now. How? In Indian philosophy, there are many answers to this question. Different approaches were taken. What is the nature of the object? What is the nature of the relation between consciousness and object? Between consciousness and matter? What is the relationship? And the multiple answers are there. One answer is that matter produces consciousness. Matter produces consciousness. This is the ancient Indian school of materialists, the Charvakas. And today, so many mainstream scientists, physicalists, materialists will say, consciousness, you're making too much of a big deal out of it. It's just a byproduct of the activities of the brain. Brain and nervous system activities, that is consciousness. So that's one view, that matter produces consciousness. What's the problem with this view? Why not stop here? Yes, brain produces consciousness, finished. then Vedanta talk will have to stop here. No more Vedanta after that. If it is, this is the Charvaka view. Someone may say that there is no consciousness in the body. Didn't we just discuss it yesterday? No consciousness in the mind. How did it emerge? Charvakas have an answer. If you mix these elements of the body together, byproduct will be consciousness. The Indians will understand this example. Pan. If you chew the pan, then your tongue and lips will become red. There's no red color in the pan itself, but the mixture of the ingredients of the pan in your mouth, it gives a red color. Similarly, in the mixture of the ingredients in the body, consciousness emerges as a byproduct. When the body falls apart in death, consciousness gone, lights out. That's the end. No more Vedanta. Death is the end. That's the materialist perspective. What is the problem with this? Today we have a name for the problem with this. This is called the hard problem of consciousness. David Chalmers, who is an Australian philosopher, he's famous for coining the term, the hard problem of consciousness. He's now the head of the Mind-Brain Consciousness Unit at NYU. One of the leading philosophers of mind in the world today. He says that there is no way of reducing consciousness to material processes. See, what is an explanation? When complex material phenomena are explained in terms of more fundamental material phenomena. This world is explained in terms of atoms or subatomic particles. That's an explanation. But if you're trying to explain this consciousness, which is not a material phenomenon, it's a subject, it's not an object, in terms of objective phenomena, of material activities, what he says is you're making a category mistake. You're making a jump. How can activities... See, the last thing that we can discover when we examine the workings of the brain and nervous system is tiny electrical activity in the neurons. Or if you examine the brain, neurochemical activity in the brain. That's the last thing you can observe. But where is the feeling? Where is the emotion? Where is the first-person experiences? And technically, they are called qualia. Where are they in the brain? You can't observe that. I feel pain. And if you observe the neuronal activity, you'll say, oh, the C fibers in the neurons are firing. They're firing the C fibers. That's correlated with the experience of pain. The firings of the neurons can be detected by our instruments. The pain cannot be detected. You have to ask, doctors in the hospitals nowadays, they have started asking, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pain are you in? Well, if everything is detectable in the body, in the body and the brain, scan it and detect how much pain I am in. Why are you asking me? See, when it is a matter of entirely something physical, the doctor knows far more than me. Check my kidney or my liver with all sorts of pathology tests and all. They will get an enormous amount of information which I have no idea about. But when it comes to first-person experience, pain, for example, why do they have to ask me? Because there's no way of detecting. They can find out the neuronal activity, but they can't detect how much pain you have got, unless you tell. When you go for glasses, so they will try out different glasses and I'll say, how does it feel? How does this one feel? How does this one? They have got such sophisticated instruments now. They should say, this is fine, go. I will not ask you how you feel. No. The conscious subject, I must testify to it. So, this first-person experience, impossible to capture by scanning the brain. Another way I can put it is this. When we go to a factory, see, what is the promise here, the premise here? The materialist says that consciousness is being produced in the brain. Process, product. If you go to a car factory, Detroit or somewhere you go, and you find from the beginning to the end of the production line, all the materials are coming, components are coming, the car is being assembled, every step you can observe until the final car rolls out. But when it comes to consciousness, if you observe a brain, you can observe everything up to the final moment when conscious experience takes place. That is not observed at all. Because it's not an object. It cannot be observed. It cannot be measured. So this is called the hard problem of consciousness. Material processes can be correlated with consciousness, but correlation is not causation. You can't explain how consciousness is coming out in the brain or nervous system. So this is the problem with the materialist explanation. There is no explanation of consciousness whatsoever. Yesterday I mentioned 325 theories of consciousness. Or Scientific American, this last month's issue, 29 theories of consciousness, which means simply we don't know. We simply don't know. Again, I think how strange this is. It should be easy to know. Consciousness is just one thing. It's just one thing. What is that one thing? Inner experience, subjective experience. Our kidneys, our livers, they're such complex entities. They produce so many things. And we understand them. Medicine has advanced so much. They can understand it so well. Why not this consciousness? Not only that, not that we are close to the understanding of consciousness. Scientists and doctors will admit we are nowhere near understanding consciousness. Not because it's very complex. It seems to be utterly different from everything else. So, the materialist explanation is stalled now. It's not going anywhere. A large number of theories and we don't know what to do there. There is another explanation of the relation between consciousness and object, between consciousness and matter. The second explanation is the other way around. Consciousness produces matter. Consciousness produces the matter. The spirit produces the world. Who says this? Religion says this. In every religion, which is a theistic religion, believing in God, one common definition of God is that God is the producer of this universe, is the creator, preserver, destroyer of the universe, except the Patanjali Yoga idea of God. But other than that, every conception of God, in Hinduism, in Judaism, Christianity, Islam, whichever religion believes in God, God is the producer of this universe, creator of the universe. Or in our language, after all, that God has to be a conscious God. Nobody says my God is an unconscious God. So consciousness produces the universe. What's wrong with this explanation? We're looking at the connection between consciousness and object, between matter and the spirit. The problem with this explanation is God. How will you prove God? Consciousness is obvious. Matter is obvious. But God produces this material universe. This God term is difficult to prove. That's why it's possible to believe in God. It's possible not to believe in God. It's possible to believe in different ways also. Every argument for the existence of God can be cut down also. So the existence of God is perfect, with only one problem: if God exists. So atheists are there, agnostics are there. How will you prove the existence of God? Then there is a third option. Consciousness does not produce matter. Matter does not produce consciousness. But consciousness and matter are parallel realities. There is consciousness. There is matter. There is consciousness. There are objects. They exist by themselves and they interact. Who says that? Sankhya. Sankhya, the ancient Sankhya philosophy, Prakriti and Purusha, matter and spirit, they coexist and they interact. Where do they interact? Us. We are the perfect example of interaction of matter and spirit. I am conscious, also there is a material body and mind, and this whole system is working together. Modern panpsychism. This is a modern version of the Sankhyan thing, that consciousness is an irreducible reality. There is the material universe, and consciousness is also a fundamental irreducible reality here. And consciousness is interacting with the material universe. What could be the problem with this approach? The problem is interactionism. How can two utterly different entities interact? Two utterly different entities, consciousness and matter. If they interact, at what point will they interact? When they interact, that point, is it consciousness or matter? On which side? Descartes, the great French philosopher, mathematician, his famous discovery, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. He gave rise to this famous mind-body dualism in Western philosophy. We are minds and in a body. We are interacting with the body and we are using this body. One of his disciples was a princess, Elizabeth, in Bohemia. And she used to write letters to him, and Descartes would write lessons and his teachings, and he would send it to the princess. Now this princess, she writes that this mind and body, how do they interact? Because you are saying the mind is controlling the body. Body can also affect the mind. How? Where is the connection? And Descartes was in trouble because there is really no way of proving a connection between mind and body. He said in the pineal gland, there's one pineal, remember this was 300 years ago. Pineal gland is there. There the mind comes into contact with the body and the mind controls the body. But then she wrote back, and in those days writing, she says, perhaps I'm only a woman, my intellect is less than yours, I cannot grasp these things, please help me to understand. Isn't the pineal gland part of the body? So how is the mind contacting the pineal gland? Now Descartes is in even more serious trouble. So he writes back, no. Actually there are vapor, gas inside the body, vapors. Mind is pushing the vapor, vapor is pushing pineal gland is pushing the body. Elizabeth understood that poor fellow, no need to push him any further. But it is true. If you talk about two entirely different kinds of reality, they cannot interact. I know in Vedanta we give example like light. Light is illumining this table, but this light is a material light. This table is a material table, so they can interact. Try to illumine our thoughts with this light, you cannot. Consciousness, how does consciousness illumine matter? How are they interacting? Big problem, no solution. Shankaracharya starts Vedanta from here, Adhyasa Bhashya. Like light and darkness, he says, Tamak prakashavad viruddha sohava. Like light and darkness, consciousness and object have different natures. They can never interact. And yet they appear to be interacting. How? If matter produced consciousness, then consciousness is a byproduct of matter, we can understand, it can interact with matter. If consciousness produced matter, then matter is a product of consciousness, they can interact. If they are not produced by each other, they are different, how will they interact? Where will they meet? No answer is possible to this. So this is the problem with the dualistic theory of consciousness and matter, Sankhyan theory. What is the anyway? To cut a long story short, this is a tour of Indian philosophy we are going on. Cut a long story short, what is the Advaitic answer? The Advaitic answer, there is a technical word for it, Adhyasa. It is not that consciousness and matter are entirely different. Consciousness is different from matter, but matter is not different from consciousness. Matter is an appearance in consciousness. Not that consciousness produces matter, that something has happened, consciousness has given rise, projected something outside itself called matter. Not that matter produces consciousness, not that they are different. It is like consciousness experiences itself through names and forms which we call matter. Consciousness appears as its own objects, much like our own dreams. So consciousness is that one underlying reality which appears as both subject and object are interacting, very much like our own dreams. So this is the Advaitic answer. And this becomes non-dual. Why is this non-dual? If consciousness is appearing to itself as matter, what is matter really? If you ask what is matter, old philosophy joke, what is matter? Never mind. What is mind? No matter. No, but we should see. What is matter? It is consciousness appearing to itself. It is basically consciousness. It is consciousness actually. But consciousness can never be an object. So, this is where Maya comes in. It draws a veil of names and forms and makes consciousness appear as its own object. Much like we dream. Where in the dream we become a dream world and also a person in the dream experiencing the dream world. While underneath both the dream subject and the dream object is the dreamer, you. Similarly, here you are consciousness and appearing as a world to be experienced and the individual subjects experiencing this world. This is the Advaitic answer. Matter does not produce consciousness. There is a nice argument. Bernardo Kastrup, who is a philosopher and a scientist, I'm drawing this argument from him. His approach is called analytic idealism, which is pretty close, in many ways similar to Advaita Vedanta. Here's the argument. What is the argument? What does it want to show? It says the utter impossibility, the ludicrousness of the materialistic answer. When you're saying that a brain is producing consciousness, he says in 4 steps, the argument is in 4 steps. The first step is I am conscious, each of us individually. I am conscious. Nobody doubts it. Nobody can doubt it. Idealist, materialist, spiritual person, non-spiritual person. Nobody doubts I am conscious. Step 1. Step 2. Others are also conscious. Now this is a little weakening of the rigor. Because others are conscious, I have no direct experience. I can experience myself, but I can't experience your consciousness. I can experience your behavior. I can listen to your language. And then I will infer you are conscious like I am conscious also. But still, it's not illogical to suppose that others are conscious. Why not? Because if it has happened once, it can happen again. In my case, I'm sure it has happened. I am conscious. And these others seem to be similar cases. So unless you are all zombies, you must be conscious. So second step is others are also conscious. Third step, problem starts. That these things which we experience in consciousness, this world, it exists outside consciousness, beyond consciousness, independently of consciousness. There is no proof of this, because this world appears to us only in consciousness, never else. Whoever has ever seen a world without consciousness, impossible, you cannot. The universe appears to us in consciousness, but materialism says this material universe exists separate from consciousness, independent of consciousness. Even if there is no consciousness, material universe will exist. This is very difficult to prove. It's a huge claim. And the last step, Bernardo Kastrup says, is the most atrocious step. This so-called independently existing material universe, which can never be proved, that is generating the directly evident conscious experience. I'll repeat that. Fourth step. This so-called independently existing matter, object, material universe is generating the most obvious consciousness, that which cannot be doubted. That is being generated by the most doubtful material universe. So 4 steps to show the impossibility of the materialist argument. But what is the materialist argument? Independently existing matter produces consciousness through brains and nervous systems. Step 1, I am conscious. No problem here. Step 2, others are conscious. Little problem. Step 3, there is a material universe existing apart from consciousness which is appearing in consciousness. Philosophically, very difficult to prove this. This is called the old problem of idealism, philosophical idealism. And last step, this so-called external material universe is producing me, the consciousness, and all our conscious experiences. This is unjustified. This is a very poor argument, philosophically speaking. Bernardo Kastrup says, therefore, the materialist position from a logical perspective, philosophical perspective, is very weak. Rather, I would say, consciousness is fundamental and matter is an appearance in consciousness. This is much more logical. Basically, this is what Sri Krishna is implying. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Now, putting it in Vedantic terms, how all this argument, what is the language of Vedanta? 2 things Krishna has said here. All of these consciousnesses, they are not separate. They cannot be separate. The Sankhyan position is untenable. There must be one consciousness. If consciousnesses are separate, then one consciousness would become an object for the other consciousness. Consciousness is never an object. Nobody has ever experienced another consciousness. The only consciousness we experience is our own consciousness. Impossible to experience. Experience something means to objectify. So, we are all one consciousness. And there are a lot of argument can be done here. The Sankhyan will say, no, consciousnesses, we are all separate. The Vedantin will say, why do you say we are all separate? And they will give many arguments. For example, if we are not separate, then the birth of one would be the birth of all, the death of one would be the death of all, if we are all one being. But that's very easy to answer. Birth and death are of the body, not of consciousness. The Sankhyan will say, well, if we are not separate, if one is awake, everyone will be awake, if we are all one consciousness. If one falls asleep, then everyone will fall asleep. Big problem in Vedanta class. Somebody is sleeping all the time. So, but it's very easy to answer from Vedanta. Because waking and sleeping are the mind. It's not consciousness. It's the mind which wakes up, the mind which dreams, the mind which sleeps. So one mind could be awake, another mind could be sleeping, another mind could be dreaming. Consciousness could be one. illumining these different minds. So like this, all the arguments to show that consciousness is separate will not work. They do not work. They fall, if you logically examine them, there is no way of distinguishing consciousness from consciousness. And the second thing which Sri Krishna is saying there, because he is Ishvara, that consciousness associated with Maya, what Maya does is it projects consciousness as this universe. So this universe is not different from Ishvara. This is, in Vedanta, this is called Satkaryavada. The universe itself is pre-existing in the cause, which is Ishvara. Just as wooden furniture is not different from wood, the waves in the ocean are not different from the water. Golden ornaments are not different from gold. Therefore, this universe, which is basically the projection of consciousness through Maya as this universe, cannot be different from the underlying consciousness. So Krishna says, I am Ishvara. In that case, the entire insentient universe is not different from Krishna, from the underlying consciousness. And there is one underlying consciousness. So in this verse, Krishna has established two things. One, there are not many consciousnesses. We are all one consciousness. Two, the so-called non-conscious object, the material universe, is also an appearance in consciousness, therefore nothing other than consciousness. It is a superimposition on consciousness, an adhyasa on consciousness. Therefore is established the non-duality of consciousness. Even when so much duality is appearing, appearance of duality is compatible with real non-duality. See, real non-duality and real duality are not compatible. If you say these are all really separate entities, and also these are all one non-dual, that's a contradictory statement. But what is compatible is, it's really non-dual, it appears in this dualistic way. That is compatible. In the dream, there is really one only, the dreamer, but it appears as a diverse dream universe. That is compatible. Yeah. So, really one, really non-dual, appearing to be many, appearing to be dualistic, fully compatible with each other. And that is the Advaitic position. The desert and the mirage water. So, the desert is dry. There is no water in the desert. But if the mirage full of water is appearing there, they're compatible. How can a dry desert be compatible with water? Because it's a mirage water. It's not really water. It looks like water. That which looks like water and an utterly dry desert are fully compatible. Similarly, that which looks like dualistic, is fully compatible with a real non-dualism. That's the Advaitic position. So you are that non-dual, we are that one non-dual reality experiencing ourselves as the subject-object in this dualistic universe. That is the final position taken by Krishna in this field and field knower. Here, field knower is separate from the field. Yesterday we gave so much time and effort to separate field knower from the field, drashta from drishya. Are we abandoning that? No, no, no. Field knower is separate from the field. Drashta is separate from drishya. Consciousness is separate from matter. But matter is not separate from consciousness. The drishya is not separate from drashta. The field is not a separate reality apart from the field knower. Thus is non-duality established. 1 o'clock exactly. So we can now take up questions. This completes the teaching, but then there will be more practical aspects which we will take up. Yes, please raise your hand and tell us your name and ask the question. And somebody here, did you raise your? Yes, we'll come here next.
Hi, Swamiji. My name is Sanjay. A quick thought that came out of what you're saying. So if we are one consciousness and matter cannot generate consciousness,
yes,
then I believe there is a light switch where a seed germinates or a baby is conceived that, some trigger says, come consciousness, now, something is getting born. A matter is getting born which needs consciousness. So is there anything that you can explain about it?
Yes, certainly. And you're right. There's a moment in which consciousness dawns upon, say, a newborn child, or upon us when we wake up from deep sleep. So that is the reflected consciousness. There, so when the idea in Vedanta, not only Vedanta, in Sankhya also, that these physical entities, they are basically appearances in consciousness, but there are certain physical entities like living beings, like us, which have subtle bodies, sukshma sharira. These subtle bodies, not only they are appearances in consciousness, but they have the capacity to reflect consciousness, to channelize consciousness, as it were. So then it becomes lit up with consciousness. The moment a subtle body enters into a living physical body means a subtle body is present. Prana is part of the subtle body. So then a reflected consciousness is generated there. That's what you mean by the light switch being thrown. Because otherwise, generally, in general, consciousness is always present. You need not call it consciousness, you can call it existence, sat. Because in Vedanta, existence and consciousness are same. So the moment a subtle body becomes active, it can reflect consciousness. And then actually we feel conscious at that moment. And that's the reflected consciousness. It's like the moonlight at night. So sun is the source. We know moonlight is sunlight. There's no doubt about it. And yet without the moon, there will not be any moonlight at night. You need a reflector. And so the reflected sunlight is what we call the moonlight. That reflected pure consciousness is what we call the empirical, the transactional consciousness which we have here, Chidabhasa. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. My name's Abby. Honestly, all of this is way over my head. But the question that keeps coming up for me in this is, it seems like individuals that get closer and closer to this, like, consciousness end up being more loving. And why is that? Is this consciousness inherently a loving presence? And if so, how is that a thing?
Yes, if you had heard Michelle, were you there for the trauma sessions? So she talked about a presence. I was thinking it sounds so much like this all-pervading consciousness which we are talking about in Vedanta. Yes, it is, but we need a slight distinction there. What we established so far is very philosophical, metaphysical, but what it establishes is that I am consciousness, and I am this one consciousness in all beings. And this one non-dual, the word non-dual is very important. In that sense, then, everybody and everything is one with me. You can see how that translates into love and compassion. So I am being loving not towards an other, because the other is no longer an other. Just as I feel a sense of oneness with myself, I'll feel a sense of oneness with everybody. They are me. I am in them, they are in me. That is, somebody was quoting, the self in all beings in the self. That's the result of this realization of non-duality of consciousness. So that's why it immediately translates into, in practice, when we come back to this world, we still appear as individual beings, we still have different bodies, different histories, different personalities. Then how will that realization of non-duality translate in this world? That's what we'll talk about in the evening today. What are the practices which help us to realize non-duality, and how does it manifest in this world? Krishna will give us 20 practices. So one of them, so you feel this deep love, compassion, non-violence. Just as you wouldn't really hurt yourself, we wouldn't want to hurt yourself, we don't want to hurt ourselves, we wouldn't want to hurt the other also. The other is only in appearance an other. They're really literally I, me, mine are one with me. That's where love comes from. And it translates into service. It's not the love of the one. It's when we think of ourselves as one body-mind, we fall in love with one body-mind. Or if you have children, a few bodies and minds. You love in particular. This one is loved to the exclusion of all. Whereas if we see ourselves as this one non-dual consciousness, then all are automatically loved. Just because they are you. You don't have to make an effort for it. You feel all-inclusive, basically. You feel like pouring yourself out into this cosmos and the cosmos entering back into you. Yeah. You feel vast. You feel vast.
Hello, Swamiji. My name is Rupesh. So these days there is a lot of talk going on with quantum physics, and so how did Advaita Vedanta parallel? Is it with quantum mechanics, quantum physics?
I wouldn't venture into that because I know literally next to nothing about quantum physics, but I know a little bit of the history of it. So I'll just mention a couple of things. One, those who are at the very foundation of quantum physics, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, then Pauli, I'm not so sure, but Heisenberg, Schrödinger, Oppenheimer later on, all of them were fascinated with Vedanta. They're pretty well read. Oppenheimer, in fact, he read Sanskrit. He learned Sanskrit at Berkeley as a student. He would always carry the Gita. He had a small library which always went with him, and the Gita would always be there. He went around giving the Gita to his friends, I'm sure boring everybody endlessly. But he said, this is the greatest philosophical poem written in any language. So they were fascinated with Vedanta. It's interesting. The quantum theorists were fascinated with Vedanta. Moving a little bit away from Vedanta into Madhyamaka Buddhism, which is the emptiness people. Recently I met Carlo Rovelli, who is a leading quantum theorist, Italian. And his books are lovely. I mean, I've read them only in English, 2 or 3 books I've read. Wonderful. So, talking about quantum theory, but lyrically, poetically, it's worth reading. So I met him recently in Venice. And he was saying that people keep telling me, you talk about all this stuff, have you ever read Nagarjuna? And I thought, who is this Nagarjuna? Let me read. Finally, I got to read Nagarjuna's root verses on the middle way, Mula Madhyamaka Karika. And he says, I was fascinated. Here is this Buddhist philosopher, monk who lived 1800 years ago in India. And his worldview, which has come to through philosophy, philosophical thinking, through logic and meditation. His worldview is the same thing which I'm talking about, my interpretation of quantum mechanics in the 21st century. It's literally the same thing. Not that he knew quantum theory, but what he comes to through philosophy and meditation, through Buddhist philosophy and meditation, is the same thing that I'm coming through quantum theory. I mean, the connection is in the interdependence, actually. So, yes, there are amazing parallels. That's the least I can say, and many people are saying that there are amazing parallels. Yes.
Thank you, Swamiji. Name is Norbert. In the scheme of things, as you have laid it out, all I seem to know is reflected consciousness. And what is the way of realizing the, seeing through the superimposition, seeing through the Maya? Because all the tools that I seem to have are all in the realm of reflected consciousness.
Yes, that's a very precisely put question. So, in the whole paradigm which was set out, the final thing which we seem to be aware of, we are aware of the body, we are aware of the world, of the body, of the mind. And what we seem to be, the last thing which we seem to be aware of is awareness itself, this so-called reflected consciousness. But Vedanta is telling us that's not who we are. That's not what we are. From that reflected consciousness to pure consciousness, his question is, what is the way then? Also, the only things that I have available to me is mind, senses, language, none of which is the pure consciousness. I mean, it is an appearance of that pure consciousness. How do I pierce through the veil of this superimposition? In one word, the answer is inquiry, vichara. And that inquiry, how to do that inquiry is set out in Vedanta. And the multiple procedures, the way of the seer and the seen, Drigdrishya Viveka, the way of the 5 levels of the human personality, Panchakosha Viveka, the way of the 3 states of waking, dreaming, sleeping, Avasthatraya Viveka or Vichara, the multiple procedures which have been developed in Vedanta, which take us step by step, and in each of them, you are right, They will take you up to reflected consciousness. And then you're supposed to catch it by yourself. Why that becomes possible is because pure consciousness is not hidden. It's most obvious. It's shining all the time. But the relationship between reflected consciousness and pure consciousness is like this. How do we go from reflected consciousness to pure consciousness? It's like this. When I look at my face in the mirror, there's a reflected face there. That reflected face looks a lot like my real face, but it's not the real face. Till now, I had no idea, suppose, of my real face, and I thought that was the real face. And I brushed the teeth there, and I shaved it there, and I put the lipstick or whatever, all those things, decorations, I put it there. No, all mistake. That's why we suffer so much. We are trying to satisfy and take care of the wrong thing. That's very unstable. The moment the mirror moves or something happens to the mirror, that reflected face gets distorted. Convex mirror, concave mirror, dirty mirror, everything will affect that reflected face. But now we are told that's a reflection of your real face. Where is the real face? Not there. It's here. What's the problem with the real face? The problem is you can't see it. You can see the reflected face, but you can't see the real face. How can you go from the reflected face to the real face? Focus on the reflected face, know that I am not it, and then turn inwards from there. The turning inwards is a technique which cannot be taught. It has to be grasped. Because pure consciousness, the real face, is always shining, is always present. What Vedanta does is, till the final moment, it shows us each possible thing which we can be aware of and shows us that we are not it. Then what we are becomes obvious. What we are cannot be directly pointed out. It's not an object, but it's also obvious. So, short answer, inquiry. And inquiry will always take you step by step to reflected consciousness. And all those steps are neti neti. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. When you become clear, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, and yet you are clear that I am. There's no doubt about it. Then what am I? In Vedanta, the emphasis is not on trying to grasp real consciousness. You cannot grasp. If you grasp it, you're done for. You've caught a hold of some object then. It's something in the mind then. You cannot grasp real consciousness. You can only be it. You are it already. You can only recognize that I am it. And this recognition happens in the mind. Because it's always shining, always present. So the effort in Vedanta is more to see what I am not. Because what I am is obvious. It's this obvious thing is covered over by my ignorance and my holding on to things which I am not. When I let go of what I am not, step back from it. Stepping back is also intellectually done by my understanding. Then it becomes clear. At one point, it will become clear. You just have to trust the process. In some intuitive sense, we understand what they're trying to point towards, but we want to make it clearer.
Thank you, Swamiji. I wanted to go back to the question of consciousness and matter, and it makes me think of what Einstein was talking about with E equals mc squared, and that we have this, matter and then energy. But I think in terms of consciousness, like one of these, like a cell phone, it's an inanimate object, and then it gets infused with energy when you charge the battery. But at that point, it's still kind of useless until it connects to this invisible field that we can't see, we can't objectify, we can infer that it's there through, you can run an oscilloscope and see that there's some kind of waveform coming through, but that's not the thing. That's like looking in the mirror, it's the reflection of the thing. So I guess my question is, how do you see consciousness in terms of as like an energy or and it sort of, like you talk about the yogis, yes, who can remote view or move their consciousness into other places and in physical.
Right.
Thank you.
In Vedanta, one has to be a little ruthlessly logical. So the definition is, whatever can be experienced, whatever can be objectified is not consciousness, is an appearance to consciousness. So all matter, all energy, all time, all space, they're all objectified, all experienceable. So they are all part of the appearance. So consciousness is distinct from all of that as the experiencer of all of that. But those are, Vedanta says, those are not different from consciousness. So like wood is distinct, or say water in that ocean, it's distinct from the waves because water can remain without being waves. But the waves are not distinct from the water. The waves cannot be anything other than water. Similarly, all that is experienced in consciousness, time, space, matter, energy, consciousness is distinct from all of them because it can objectify. That is matter. That is energy. This is the reflection on the oscilloscope. But they are not in themselves other than consciousness because they can never be experienced without consciousness. Yes. Should we wrap? We have got a few more minutes now.
Hi. I'm going to try and articulate this question. Can you talk about how karma plays into Vedanta, and would it be true to say that karma perpetuates the mind-matter phenomena?
Yes. Karma is exactly as you said. It perpetuates the matter, mind, the phenomenal world, samsara, the cycle of birth and death. At the root, the fuel is karma. Put in philosophical language, it's causality. Actions have consequences. Causes will give rise to effects. So, Swami Vivekananda put it this way: good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law. Whoever wears the form wears the form. Whoever wears the form wears the chain too. The chain is our karma. Something has produced this life. We are seeing the effects, good and bad. Something has produced it. And so that will keep on coming, the results of that karma. But then what about Vedanta? What does Vedanta do? If causality is this chain, and Vivekananda says, chains though of gold are not less strong to bind. Iron chains, bad karma. Misery, the result is bad, bad. So bad karma, suffering, sickness, trouble, anxiety, all sorts of misery. This bad karma, result of bad karma. Good karma, pleasant life, you are healthy, prosperous, achieving stuff in life, things go your way. But both of them are chains. Iron chain, golden chain. None of them are going to let you loose, cut you loose from that. So in Vedanta, both are considered to be obstructions. Karma itself is the obstruction. But it is overcome through knowledge here. Vivekananda says, what can Vedanta do for you here? Far beyond is Atman ever free. No, thou art that sannyasi bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. So far beyond karma. Good karma, bad karma. Far beyond, far higher, far deeper than that. You are the movie screen on which the movie generated by karma is playing out. Could be a horror show, could be a comedy, or mixture of both usually. But in neither case are you it. And the screen is not affected by the movie. In fact, the movie depends on the screen. Without the screen, you can't have the movie. But the screen doesn't depend on the movie. It can play out all sorts of movies. So the Advaita consciousness, the non-dual consciousness, is the ground on which the play of karma appears. But the ground itself, consciousness itself, is completely unscarred. Yesterday we talked about how it can remain untraumatized in the middle of physical or mental trauma. Body, mind are the puppets of karma. They dance to the tune of karma. But you are neither body nor mind. That's why Vedanta sets you free. No, far beyond name and form is Atman ever free. Pure consciousness ever free. You are that. So first and foremost, let us assert that we are not slaves of karma. The more we identify with the body, the more we identify with the mind, the more we dance to the tune of karma, because they are under the realm of karma. The more we identify with pure consciousness, by the witness that I am the awareness in which all of this is taking place, the more we are free of the play of karma. All spirituality, in one sense, is transcendence of causality. See, let's take it in 3 steps. There are people who don't understand causality. They suffer. They sink to an instinctive state, an almost animalistic state. The people say, I want my pleasure and I'm going to have it one way or the other. This is a straight road to addiction. Then I'm trapped. I can't get out of it because I did not understand causality. I set these forces in motion, then I'm stuck in those forces. I can't get out of it anymore. So, not understanding causality, not understanding karma is a surefire prescription to disaster in the short run, immediately. We will immediately generate bad karma. The one who does not understand karma wants the results of good karma without doing the good karma, and wants to do the bad karma without the results of bad karma. Why? Out of an instinctive pursuit of pleasure or out of fear. These are the two things which drive us. Pleasure pulls us and fear drives us. Pursued by fear, entranced by pleasure, we overstep the limits of morality, of karma, and we do bad karma. Why do people steal and murder and do from little nasty things to terrible deeds? None of it is done out of the goodness of your heart. None of it is done because I'm practicing meditation or trying to be truthful and loving and all. No. It's all done for selfish reasons. Bad karma is generally done for selfish reasons. I can't overcome my temptation, or I am out of fear. I tell a lie out of fear, or I tell a lie because I'll gain something out of it. I never tell a lie as a spiritual practice. No, that's ridiculous. So, not understanding karma drives us into bad karma. As we progress over time, we begin to understand karma, this terrible machine. So then the wise one moves, tries very hard to avoid bad karma and tries the best to do good karma whenever possible. If the mood strikes you, opportunity comes to do good to someone, somewhere, do it. Don't hesitate. If the mood comes, an opportunity comes to do something bad, hesitate, stop. It will pass. The desire to do good will also pass. The desire to do bad will also pass. So when the desire to do bad comes, it's very wise to stop and wait for a while. It will pass. When the desire to do good comes, do it immediately. So then one moves from ignorance of karma to an appreciation of karma. One moves from the instinctive life. In Sanskrit, this is called pamara, to that of a dharmika person, a person who follows dharma, morality, not for being a goody-goody, entirely in my self-interest. I'll be much better off if I'm a moral person, a decent person, stick to standards. Karma. Even then I'm trapped in samsara. It's a more sustainable form of samsara, better life, still not fulfilling, still not free, still struggling. Then from not appreciating causality to beyond causality, not appreciating karma to understanding karma, using karma to beyond karma. Beyond karma, all spiritual practices take us beyond karma. Bhakti, devotion, love of God. Look at the word they use all the time. What kind of love of God is necessary? Unconditional love of God. Unconditional. Unconditional means beyond karma, causality. You are not setting conditions. I love God endlessly, unconditionally, and from there I love everything and everybody endlessly, unconditionally. Vivekananda said, let all vision cease. That means become enlightened, become free. Or if you cannot, dream but better dreams, which are eternal love and service free. What's the best possible philosophy of life? Highest possible philosophy of life? It is unconditional love and unconditional service. Service free. I don't want anything back in return. That's wise. Not that I'm doing you a favor. The moment I want something back in return, golden chain. And that will slowly turn into a rusted iron chain. Samsara is connected. Start with sattva, it will take you to rajas, it will take you to tamas again. Start with the good, it will drag you down to the bad also. Transcend good and bad, and then do good endlessly, without any conditions attached whatsoever. He says, even that is a dream, Vivekananda says. But dream, but better dreams. It's a better dream. It's not a nightmare which we have set up for ourselves. Devotion, unconditional devotion, beyond karma. Look at Advaita Vedanta, Brahman. It's beyond karma, beyond causality. Karya Karana Vilakshana Brahma. Brahman, pure consciousness, transcends cause and effect. It appears as causality. You cannot run away from it, though. Vivekananda says, no one can run away from the machine. Learn to work the machine till it sets you free. I say, okay, I'm not interested in karma. I am Brahman, I'm going to sit quietly like that. You can't. Karma will drive you until we learn to fix it. How do we fix it? Replace bad karma with good karma, and good karma with unconditional good karma, selfless karma. Replace selfishness with love, transactional love. I love you, you love me. Replace the transactional love with an unconditional love. Because you are wise, you love endlessly and unconditionally. You don't have to change your Facebook status. From now on, I shall love unconditionally. It's an internal development. That's the path. We slowly move towards that. Wiser, and it's just maturity. It doesn't even have to be Vedanta. As people live through life, you see many people come to the same conclusion. People come to the conclusion, I really don't want anything back from you or back from the world. I give and I love because I enjoy that. I find myself best when I'm loving and serving. I damage that loving and serving when I take something back in return. So, even that is a dream. Vivekananda says, dream but better dreams. It's a better dream. It's not a nightmare. Good question to end on. We have run out of time. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Thank you.
So we'd like to thank again very much Swami Sarvapriyananda ji for this beautiful teaching this afternoon. Let's give him another very big hand. And Swamiji will continue and conclude the program tonight in the evening satsang. So have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody. At 2 o'clock, we have here a workshop with Bhagavad Chaitanya and the practice of ahimsa. So everybody is welcome to join and have a wonderful rest of the day. Om Namah Shivaya.